Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining. The Nashville chapter is very happy to host this discussion of the DeRose-Hinkhouse Awards. We did a similar meeting last year about this time, and this is titled How to Enter and Win the DeRose-Hinkhouse Awards. Actually, how and why to enter and win the DeRose-Hinkhouse Memorial Awards program. So I'm expecting a few more people from our Nashville chapter will jump in here, but I like to start on time and we have a good crowd. So I have invited a specific pair of guests who are consistent winners in the DeRose Awards, consistent best in class winners, and who won best in class awards last year. So I'll introduce Donna and Amithel in a minute, but just for starters, let me go around to the rest of us and let's find out who everybody is. So we'll say our names and affiliation and where in this country we are sitting. And I'll start. I'm Reverend Brian Fesler. I'm the pastor of the Church of Scientology in Nashville and serve as Vice President of RCC and chair of this DeRose-Hinkhouse Awards for the second year now. So let's go to Susan. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Susan Engel from West Lafayette, Indiana. I'm retired from Brilliant Star, which is under the aegis of the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States. And what did I forget? And I love the DeRose-Hinkhouse Awards.
And a best in class winner herself.
Award-winning author of multiple things.
That's right. Amy, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, okay. My name is Amy Renshaw. I'm the senior editor of Brilliant Star magazine, a member of the Baha'i community, and I've been a member of RCC for 17 years, and I love it.
Awesome.
Oh, and I'm in Wisconsin, which is frigidly cold and icy.
Which city are you in Wisconsin?
I'm in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, in the northwest corner of the state.
Awesome. Heidi?
And the O is not so clear these days.
The O is
sorry,
frozen.
I speak some French, so I had to make the pun. Heidi Parsons, also on Brilliant Star and a member of the Baha'i community of Evanston, Illinois. Yeah, Evanston, Illinois. So there you go. I've been an RCC member for 5 years now.
Awesome. And also an award-winning DeRose winner.
Yes.
Let's go to Donna Price.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I haven't ever done Zoom from my phone.
Oh.
I'm a freelancer for Brilliant Star, and I have admired RCC from California. And that's about it.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
And hello, James. What a lovely background.
Oh, thank you.
Andy.
Yes, it's a picture I took back at in my home state of Idaho, but I am, like so many of the folks here, based in the Chicago area. I'm editor of the American Baha'i, which is the membership magazine for the national Baha'i community, and I've had the privilege of being part of a couple of teams that have been recognized in the DeRose-Hinkhouse contest as well.
Awesome. We have a trend here lining up with I think we know who's going to take some awards this year. Joyce?
Hi, I'm Joyce Litoff. I work in the Baha'i Office of Communications. I edit the U.S. Baha'i News, and I'm a former RCC board member, and I actually coordinated the DeRose-Hinkhouse Awards one year. So I know what a fabulous job, what a tremendous job it is, and a fabulous job that that you've done with it, Brian. It's getting more and more sophisticated all the time. So I'm calling in today from the Chicago area, from Chicago proper, where it's nice and cold and a little bit of snow on the ground.
Awesome. Glad to have you. And let's Andy, one of my heroes in this game.
I'm Andy Rawls. I'm retired from the Baptist Seminary in Louisville. I've been involved with RCC for 30 years. I produced the Wilbur Awards for 30 years, and I produced the DeRose-Hinkhouse Awards a number of times as well. So I'm glad to be here today too. And I'm I'm here in Florida.
Awesome. And when I said that, I actually meant that when I first got involved in the RCC, I was quite in awe of the work that you were doing on the Wilbur Awards. So I appreciate that.
Well, when you have extraordinary entries, it's easy to do good work with.
Yeah,
And
that's
RCC has been blessed by having exceptional entries in Wilbur's.
yeah. I agree. It's definitely supercharged me last year to do these awards and see everything that's coming in, and more so even to work with the creators of them.
Yes.
So I have not forgotten you, Donna and Amithel. We'll get to you in just a minute. I want to give you a nice introduction. But first of all, I think most of you have been around for a while and kind of have an idea of the history of the awards. So I'm not really going to talk about that so much, but I do have, oh, here comes our Nashville chapter. They may have been in the wrong place, but here they go. So we have just joined, we've just been joined by Teresa and Julie, and I'll introduce them. Teresa Faust is with United Methodist Communications. She does market research and planning, that kind of thing. And she's a national board of governor for the RCC. And she is our vice president for programming in Nashville and has made many wonderful, wonderful programs for us. And we are definitely going to take advantage of that skill moving into 2022. Julie Brinker works in my office at the Church of Scientology in Nashville. She's our communications person for the Nashville chapter and takes care of everything for me. And then we have Marlena Suida. She's from the Nashville chapter. She's joining on here. As I'll introduce her as she arrives. She's with the Red Cross of Middle Tennessee, based out of Nashville. It's been a wonderful, wonderful guest at most of our meetings. So welcome. So back to our awards here. I wanted to show you a video about the awards. Basically, when a few years back, Ryan Coe took over the DeRose Awards and ran it out of New York. He moved all the entry onto online. That was a new thing. We had basically only had mail-in entries for the history of the awards. So Ryan created a form online and you could enter online, still accepted some mail-in entries. When I took it over last year, we basically canceled all the mail entries except books. If you have a book, you could mail me some books. But we moved it all online, tried to streamline it a little bit. I know years ago I was confused by the mound of categories and classes. So I tried to streamline that a little bit. It went great. The online entry form was very smooth. I got a lot of good compliments, and I would like any feedback that anybody has. But it went really great because I could receive them and then I could get them to the judges. We had judges all over the place. So some of the stats from last year, just so you know what you're up against here, we had about 100 and we had about 182 entries from, one second, about 180 entries. We had 95 separate people who contributed to those entries. That means, you know, the primary entrant must be a RCC member, but you can have, you know, 3 or 4 people on a project. So there were 95 people working on these entries. So that means people are entering more than one category, more than one class. Sometimes one work will fit in different classes, and you can enter in more than one. We had 2 different countries. We had somebody from Barcelona made some entries. So Spain and the United States. And within the United States, we were represented of 19 different states in the country. The most represented state or area, anybody want to guess?
Illinois.
Close. Y'all were, because of the Baha'is, you were very close. Kentucky.
Oh,
Kentucky, the heart of the Bible Belt. Lots of stuff in Louisville. The Ursuline sisters are there, and I don't know. I should analyze a little bit further, but lots of stuff in Kentucky. There were 41 entries from Kentucky, 29 from Illinois. Washington, D.C. had 19, Alabama 13, Georgia 12, Pennsylvania 12, Missouri 11, and then the rest were all in single digits. So New York was next, Tennessee was next. Yeah, so mostly it's kind of scattered around the southeast part of the country. 4 from California. Yeah, so that's just kind of telling you where they're coming from. And we had let's see, can you see all that? I'll tell you the highlights. You probably can't read it from there. It's not really a screen share, it's a paper share. So the most entered category by far was periodicals. 58 entries in the periodicals category. That's newspapers, magazines, blogs, articles, and stories. If you have really good stuff entered in the periodical category, that's a very hot category, but you're up against a lot of competition. The least populated category was specialty publications. And those are the little oddball things like, well, I don't know, it's not really oddball, posters, flyers, booklets, that kind of thing. But the one that really won the awards was the annual reports. And, you know, people always say nobody reads the annual report. And I'm telling you, some of the work that you guys are doing on annual reports make these very compelling and, you know, make a person not just want to read it, but look forward to it. These are some wonderful things. Other categories that were highly popular were video and audio, shorts and feature presentations, which were a lot of fun because they made for a nice awards show. I could just show the video. It's very, very easy. And then writing for periodicals was a good category. If you wanted to find a category with not many entries, go for specialty publications, books. Apparently those are tougher. And artwork, you know, if you do illustration or design, enter your illustrations. It's amazing, you know. There would be an entry in publications that they were entering the whole piece, but the illustration was just amazing and could have taken an award on its own. So before we do get into the fun part, discussion, interviews, I wanted to show you a little video. Let's see if this will work. Describing the classes and the categories. This was part of the event last year, and it's up online. I'm going to put a link in the chat. You can see this later. But we're going to just show it now. It's about 3 minutes or so. Here we go. I hope this works for you.
Entrants submit their work in one of 11 classes. Classes are organized into 3 major groupings. Publications are judged as a whole. For example, if a magazine article were submitted in a publications category, judges would consider the design, layout, copywriting, and graphics of the article. The content classes are for individual authors and artists to submit their works for consideration as distinct from the publications in which they appeared. Each entry is scored on its own merits. For example, if the entry is for writing, judges disregard any images or design elements which may accompany it. This gives creators an opportunity to be judged for their own work apart from other elements over which they may have no control. And finally, the campaigns group recognizes excellence in the planning and execution that is at the heart of public relations, the campaign. Written publications classes include periodicals, books, websites, and specialty publications. Audiovisual publications include news and magazine broadcasts, shorts and feature presentations, and other specialty programming like podcasts, vlogs, and webinars. The content classes are writing for periodicals, specialized writing, artwork, and design. Campaigns come in many flavors, from public awareness to crisis management, fundraising, and more. Within each class, there are categories. Each category has a category winner. This is a very high honor. In some cases, the judges found additional outstanding work, and that is recognized with awards of excellence, awards of merit, or honorable mentions. But the most coveted of all awards is the best in class, and these are the ones who take the trophy.
Did you get to see the video all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So mainly I wanted to show you that how things are organized, so it's easy to find where to put your work and that there are many places that you can put your work. So with that in mind, any questions on that so far? Oh, something just rang. That wasn't for us, okay. All right, well then good. So I'm going to go into the fun part now. I'm going to introduce our guests, and I'm going to share a I'm going to tell us about our first guest here. Never mind. No screen share. I'm just going to introduce Amithal, and most of you, she will need no introduction, but Amithal Parle-Sewell is the editor-in-chief and creative director of the Brilliant Star, which serves to empower children and youth around the world. Through an international magazine and digital media, Brilliant Star encourages world citizenship, social justice, respect for the environment, virtues, spirituality, and a love of learning. Brilliant Star has earned over 30 awards under Amithal's direction since 1997. And I'm sure not all of those were DeRose-Hinkhouse Awards, but probably a few of them were. I've seen, ever since I joined RCC, that's where I first became aware of Brilliant Star, and it is indeed brilliant work. So we are happy to have Amithal speaking today, and she's just back from a long trip, so we'll get her part over with and get her to a long winter nap. We're also joined by the Reverend Donna Frischknecht Jackson, and as well, I first became acquainted with her name and her work before I ever met her in person. She's a member of our Board of Governors. She's the editor of Presbyterians Today, which is an award-winning denominational magazine published 6 times a year by the Presbyterian Church USA. Before she was ordained in Princeton Theological Seminary, she lived in Manhattan. She worked in public relations and publishing. I think I read that you were in the jewelry business. Is that right? Well, that explains a lot. And now she's not only a blogger and writer, but she's a pastor and a chicken farmer, as far as I know. So let's get Amithal and Donna to unmute. And we're now going to give away all the secrets to entering and winning the DeRose-Hinkhouse Awards. So,
well, first I have to say I've never been introduced as a chicken farmer, so I'm flattered. Like, I have made it in 2022. You've just made my entire year.
well, you know, we learn these
And I
little
wanted to
secrets
also
about each other.
add, I think all of those Kentucky entries, I think they're coming from the PCUSA in Louisville.
I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. Lots from there. Good stuff too. And Amithal, good to have you this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Like you said, I rolled in just a few hours ago, getting our son back to college. So I'm happy to make it back in time to join you.
Yeah, well, let's start with the first question we'll start with you, and both of you can answer or jump in. If anybody, we'll kind of do a little bit of Q&A here for a minute or two, and then we'll kind of open it up for general audience comments or questions. But let me ask you first, why is it valuable to win a DeRose-Hinkhouse Award? We'll go to
Either of us, or would you like
Yeah,
to
let's
go
go to,
first time?
why don't you go first?
Well, winning a DeRose-Hinkhouse Award, as you described in your early presentation, is really, especially a best in class, is a pinnacle of excellence and a testament to the quality of your work. So as creators, the value or the impact of our work can be subjective. So it's so important to have objective validation from other professionals, especially outside of your organization, so that you can have a neutral point of view, a neutral assessment of your work. The awards, especially the DeRose-Hinkhouse Awards and Best in Class, that they convey to our audience and to our colleagues and stakeholders that our work has impact, that it does demonstrate excellence. And if you have the honor of winning multiple times over the years, you build a strong reputation for excellence, and that builds trust. So the words also become a tool to confidently market your work to new or existing readers. I could really go on about why it's so
Yeah.
valuable, but those are some of the things that come to mind.
Yeah, thank you. Donna?
She said it beautifully. I mean, she's covered all of the aspects of why it is so valuable to enter and to win. I think for me, I would like to add that it has especially been valuable for Presbyterians today because it is being a traditional print magazine. I'll be honest, it's always questioned, should we continue it? We all know how publishing is these days and how difficult it is on paper costs and so forth. And so for me as editor, these last 4.5 years, winning awards for Presbyterians today does add that value to headquarters, to our corporate denomination. And not that it's going to save it from being on the chopping block, but it makes me smile, it makes me proud, and it makes me show my colleagues as well that this is a valuable way of telling our stories and connecting Presbyterians for how we are glorifying God. So that's just a realistic answer to the value of these awards when it comes to just really sharing with everybody that there is value here. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting point, because I think most of us being communicators, we know the value of communication and how important it is for our organizations to keep putting the word out. So how much of what each of you just described in value is internal, like showing others in your organization that, yeah, this is worth it. This particular website, this particular blog, this item, we do need to keep doing this. And here's further proof of that. How much of that is internal as compared to outside?
I would like to go first. And I didn't even think that this conversation would go in this direction, but I'll be honest, it's extremely important. And it's basically, it's the main reason why I do enter. It's for that value, and then for my own value as a writer, as a creative person, and getting that recognition personally is second.
Yeah. And Phil, do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. We, over the years, I think we've been involved 17 years. Is that correct, Amy? And I would say that over those years, the awards have internally as well as externally, but we're talking internally now, has given our team greater visibility, greater validation within our organization. Of course, in any organization, there are always competing interest for trying to validate things for your budget or for additional human resources, whatever it is that an agency tries to secure to do their work. Having these awards lends credibility to our request. So it builds a level of trust and respect for the work. I think that it's difficult for us within an organization sometimes to value the work that we create. So having these awards year to year helps us pause and celebrate the victory, because it's important to acknowledge the work that we do and take the time to honor it. And that has always been something that we enjoy year to year is to pause and honor the work that we're creating.
Yeah. Donna, how has the DeRose competition, I don't even know if I'd call it a competition. I suppose technically it might be a competition, but it seems to be more, it seems to be something else to me. But how has it shaped your career?
It has, well, I've shared this with you last year a little bit, just one-on-one. I returned to writing after many years of leaving it by the wayside. And so I would have to say these past 4 years, upon re-entering into the publishing world, the writing world, after many years just focusing on church ministry. So for me, it has just affirmed that my God-given call is a ministry of communication. And I needed that affirmation because a lot of times being an ordained pastor, you are just classified as by, what church do you have? And there's many ways that we minister to people, and communication is one of those ways. And so it validated for me the ministry of writing, and for me in my career as a writer. And I can't explain that feeling that it gives you when you're validated, when you're affirmed. It gives you a sense of peace and belonging, and of course it spurs you on to keep doing better and achieving and just making sure that you're perfecting your craft. So it was affirmation for me professionally, and it gave me the I don't know, for lack of a better word, the courage to then get other freelance writing and to just really go for it. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but for me as a writer, we always have our self-doubts. So it's just affirmation, and it gave me courage and to trust that, put it out there and just trust that the universe will receive it.
That's beautiful. I remember you said that last year to me, but trust that the universe will receive it. That's beautiful. Amithel, have you seen any changes in your personal career path that you would associate with being part of the DeRose competition?
To be honest, I haven't really considered the awards in the context of my career per se. For us, it's more about building our team's capacity as we implement our mission. So in that light, the awards have given our team credibility, courage, as Don mentioned, definitely confidence and courage. It's also given us a sense of community. I think being in faith-based communications can be a rather lonely endeavor. So to be part of the community of the RCC has really given us that confidence and courage to know that other people are trying to do what we do. And so that has made us feel connected and a part of a greater community who are working to make meaningful impact in faith-based communications.
Yeah. I think maybe you just kind of spoke about this topic, but how has the awards, maybe we'll talk about when you've entered a piece that didn't get any recognition, if that's ever happened. I'm not sure if it's ever happened, but have you entered anything that didn't get any recognition, and how did that turn out?
Sure.
Oh.
Go
Do you
ahead,
want to go
please.
first?
Yeah, please.
No, you go.
No, please.
Okay. Well, I'm laughing because many of you will get to know who I am. I have a really sarcastic sense of humor, kind of a weird sense of humor. So my first reaction is like, when I didn't get recognition, oh, that got an earful. No, you didn't. But it does happen. It does happen. And I think for me, when I enter something that I was really proud of and I thought, oh, this is by sure the winner, when it doesn't even get, a nod, it's like, what, huh? So it is kind of humbling. And again, it's just that fact that you just got to trust what you put out there and how the universe responds to it. It's in God's hands, really. We're here to glorify, a greater being, and it's just, but it is humbling, and it does make you scratch your head and go, huh?
So you look at the winner and you say, they didn't even dot their I's.
Exactly. No. But it's not even so much not even looking at the person that did win. It's just personally, like just with myself, just like, wow, I this was like, some of my best prose. That opening paragraph was so poetic. So again, it's humbling, and you just never know how your words are going to impact another, especially the judges, and you just don't know.
Yeah. So Amitav, if anything like that's happened to you, how did you turn it to a positive?
Well, we always discuss on our team the nature of competition entering awards. Of course, we don't create our work for the purpose of entering awards, but as we've been talking through this whole conversation, there's so much benefit to it. But we year after year talk about the nature of it and of competition, and that it's quite unpredictable. Your panel of judges changes. It's a very changing, diverse panel of judges, and different judges will judge your work differently. So we have been involved in other competitions over the years, and we just acknowledge that that's a part of the process. Is that maybe you're very proud about of a particular submission, and perhaps it gets nothing or lower than you have expected. But again, we celebrate when we're victorious, and if we're not, we're still going to do the work, and we're still going to be proud of it. So it doesn't affect us too much. It just makes us work a lot harder in the following year, and also reassess. Like we enter a period of assessment, like, okay, last year perhaps we won a best in class, this year we didn't for this particular category. Why is that? Let's discuss the possibility of what did we miss this time, or what changed in our work this time. So it helps us reassess our work if we didn't do as well as we'd like.
Sure.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah.
A very interesting, funny story is that at Presbyterians Today, I usually ask everybody to submit, go over all the issues of the past year and send to me the submissions that you want, that you think, we should enter. And my boss, all the stories that I won, he never recommended to submit them. So I find that very interesting. So again, you just don't know how the spirit is at work, and you just don't know. And so I guess you just have to just write from the heart and just really follow your heart as to what the nudges are, and to submit. It's been mind-boggling to me. So I just wanted to share that with you, that everything that I ever won, my boss never recommended to submit.
That is interesting. It's different viewpoints. Just everybody has a different viewpoint, and work that's very meaningful to somebody might not resonate with somebody else, or vice versa. You know, I could say that none of the entries are bad. None every entry that we received that I ever saw was worthy of, you know, being recognized. And so, and we tried to do that a little bit. Actually, we tried to, we gave awards of merit, awards of honor, like what's it called, honorable mention, that kind of thing, because most all the work that was entered should be recognized. I'll just have to say that. How do you decide? You just talked a little bit about this, but how do you decide from the boundless amount of communication that you put out through the year, which 12 or 15 pieces you're going to enter?
For us, quite simply, we vote a month or so before the RCC deadline. We'll vote on which publications or which individual pieces of content we feel will make the most impact. In most cases, there tends to be a consensus among our team about which to enter. Usually, if there's not consensus, we'll discuss the top candidates in light of the RCC criteria, and we'll discuss until a consensus is clear, or I'll at some point make a final call based on feedback from my team about what we'll enter.
Yeah, okay. Donna, you just kind of told us how you all do it, and I think you should continue just going with your gut, or going with whatever God tells you to submit, because
but I also, in addition to that, I also weigh the stories that we are submitting by the timeliness of it, the topic that is written about. Is there a new angle, something fresh perspective? And of course, you know, the writing quality and so forth. But I tend to also pick stories, just again, the timeliness of the topic, and was there a fresh perspective, something new that was brought to, you know, the telling of this topic.
Yeah. So let me ask you about the entry process. It was new last year, a little bit new with the way it was done. How did that go for you?
It was wonderful. It was very easy to do. I will admit, I've only been a member for 4 or 5 years now, and not like everybody else. I was hearing everybody say, you know, I've been a member for 17 years. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like a newbie here. But I will admit that up until last year, I always, can I say this? I dreaded the entry process. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, just like filling out things and trying to collect everything. But last year was the first year that everyone in PCUSA, we usually had one point person submit everything, but we were all, each editor of the certain ministries, we were able to do it just by ourselves on our own to go for it. And I found it very easy. I was like really surprised. It was just very, I found it, I'm not going to say a joy, but I found it just better than I expected.
Well, that's good. And how about on your end, Amfa?
Oh, we found it far more simplified as well, the digital entry. I will say, from a big picture point of view, in terms of the content that we produce the magazine with the intention of our readers, that is kids who are learning to read, kids between the ages of 8 to 12 who are learning to read. We really emphasize the nature of the tactile nature of holding a book or a magazine and engaging it and reading it. So we create our content with that intent in mind. So we do miss the idea that judges are not engaging the magazine in the way that we intend, but the process is easier. It's very simple. but I understand that there are the logistical nature of a digital entry is a much easier.
Yeah, that's a good comment. I had not given it much thought, but obviously that's a valid consideration that you're creating a written publication. What did you think about the? Did you first of all, did you see your feedback after it was over? Did you get to log in and see the feedback and scoring and all that?
Yes, and I have to say, it's funny, I made a notation to bring that up, just in case you didn't, because last year was the first year that I did see it. And to me, that feedback that the judges took to write everything, that in itself was more valuable than winning. It really was. It on a personal note, it has helped me to write more concisely and shorter. I'm known to be verbose. So a lot of the feedback was like, this feature could have been shorter. And I'm like, okay, duly noted. Everyone's been saying that about my writing. So yeah, oh my gosh, the feedback, as I said, to me, that in itself is worth submitting many entries, even if you get, honorable mention and whatnot, if even if you don't win, just that was valuable.
Thank you for that. Amithel, did you use that feedback?
Oh, I absolutely agree. I remember before you had to include a self-addressed envelope to get feedback. But we've always done that. We always value feedback, and whenever we get the feedback, it always sheds some kind of new light on things that we can improve on. So yeah, absolutely very valuable.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I've heard that from a few others, and many of you on this call right now were judges last year, so you know that it was required.
Yeah, in fact, that's why I really with judging tried to take the time to include feedback, because I know for us how valuable it's been over the years. So very much as a judge, I tried to reciprocate that value.
Yeah. To me, the big award winners last year should have been the judges. I mean, we had 49 judges who really worked very hard. I mean, well, I don't know how hard it worked, but a lot of hours to go through the entries and read the entries. And, it was a joyous occasion. I had some really nice feedback from the judges, how much they enjoyed it. And to see their feedback and the time they took and the care they put into giving our entrants their opinions. And, all of our work is sent out into the world to receive whatever opinions come back at us. And we don't always know, but I thought that was valuable too. So I'm glad you got something out of that. I'll just ask you for any tips that you would like to give others who would like to know why and how they should enter and win the DeRose-Hinkhouse Awards, and then we'll give you those little tips, and then I'll see if there's any questions from the rest of us. Let's start with Donna.
Oh. We covered a lot of the tips and why already. I just think for tips, and this is just my own personal way I do things, I pray on it. I pray and I go through my things and I let the spirit lead me and my gut. That's how I do it. And so definitely enter and, assess your work that you have produced, but then also, as I said, listen to a still small voice and just go for it. And even if you don't win, just know that your work is being read by colleagues who, even if you don't win, are reading your work and value you. And you're just part of a community. Win or lose is just a nice feeling to know that you're part of a writing community that seeks to glorify the good in this world. So I don't know if that's really a tip or whatever, but it's more go forth and do it, and don't worry, don't do it for the sake of winning, but do it just for the sake of being part of a community and keeping it vibrant and sharing.
Yeah. Do the journey, take the journey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Amithil, do you have any last minute tips?
Well, everything we create at Brilliant Star is really a team effort, and this includes our entry process. So we try to make sure that everyone on our team has a voice in sharing their input. So when we intentionally talk about why one entry is stronger than another. So when we're creating content for our readers, but in a different kind of discussion, we have conversations about why is this entry better than this entry. So when you're mindful about your entries, it makes you more mindful about your content strategy, not just during the competition season, but throughout the year. So we really take time to talk about the entries themselves in light of competition, which is a separate conversation from the development of that content. I'd also say start early. We start preparing our submissions. I think we try to prepare them before the holiday break, a couple of months beforehand. We take time to write clear, meaningful, succinct descriptions. I would say read the entry requirements carefully and choose categories carefully. If you have questions about how to submit, ask. We're always asking a lot of questions, and every year the RCC team has been so helpful and so approachable about responding to any questions that we have. So what else? The entry form recommends explaining your objective, and one thing we found useful is including comments from our readers about there's a part that asks you to discuss the results, the outcome of your work, and we include readers' comments because we think that it's really the best measure. You can win awards, you can get feedback from parents, you can feel good about your work, but really one of the greatest measures of our effectiveness is when kids tell us, you made me feel less alone in the world, or you inspired me to go out and connect with nature, or you inspired me to be helpful in my community, or I learned a way to deal with bullying. It's when our readers tell us that we're being successful, that when we know that we have succeeded. So we try to extend that, convey that in our entries, and we think that's been useful. And then back to talking about the judging comments, really try to consider any feedback that you get from judges very earnestly. The comments we received have been so helpful and constructive, and have helped us pivot or refine not only how we develop content, but what we submit in the future.
Well, thank you. Those are good tips, and I would agree with you especially on the point about what your readers said. There's a box on the entry that asks you something like, "How do you know you were effective in achieving what your objective?" And that's pretty good validation of that. So before I have general questions and answers, I wonder, and you don't have to, but Teresa and Amy, I wonder if I could put you on the spot. You were both judges, and Aaron, you were a judge as well. Tell me. I'm switching over to audience members now, if there are any. We're all kind of in this together, like Donna said. Yeah, and that's another point. Donna mentioned how we're all, part of a group here. Pretty much everybody on this call right now, except for maybe Andy and Julie, I think either had entries, and also a lot of us scored entries. It was a fun challenge for me to make sure that the Baha'is were not scoring the Baha'is and the Presbyterians were not scoring the Presbyterians. But I worked it all out, and I think I was pretty successful at it. It was quite a puzzle. But that exposes our work to not only our own audience, but audiences of sometimes very different views. And so that was a lot of fun to coordinate all that. And I'd like Amy and Teresa to speak for a minute, if you don't mind, about the judging, like how that went for you.
If I say good things about judging, does that mean I have a big list of it this year?
You already had a big list.
Uh-oh. It was of course time consuming, but really, really rewarding. I was, we were assigned to categories that were different from our categories that we were entering. So I wasn't looking at other periodicals. I was looking at, especially the videos, I think were particularly engaging. And I got a chance to see some communication that I wouldn't normally see. When we attend the convention, you might see like a glimpse of the best in class winner, but I normally don't get to see all of the entries in like a video category or something. And I was so impressed with the quality of the work and also just the wonderful service that different faiths are doing for humanity. It was an inspiring process.
Yeah, thank you. You did a great job too, Judge. Teresa, you did a lot, and Teresa actually coordinated a lot of our judges. So she was instrumental in bringing a lot, especially the outside people that are not RCC people, but just professional communicators. So maybe you could tell us about that.
Right. So I'll echo what Amy said about I'll echo what Amy said and then add or just continue echoing. It was enjoyable. Exposure to content, style, formats, really eye-opening and a delight. And I did recruit, if you will, folks that are communicators outside of religion, to judge folks that aren't communicators, but they're professionals and they could be consumers, shall we say. I had a lot of positive feedback from those folks. They were a little intimidated and weren't sure, what am I signing up for? And what is this? I said, you're a professional, you're a peer, you're qualified to do this. I value your judgment. I would recommend folks ask people to judge. I think it kind of expands your, I can't think of the right word here. You really, because if you're part of RCC or part of an organization that does religion communication, there's still so much more beyond what you're exposed to and what your organization does. And there really is a lot of amazing work being done. So I'm ready to recruit some more folks this year and even maybe ask them to recruit, because even in the video of the awards, I think there were some folks that sort of surprised me that Brian inserted in there that were judges I recruited, and they had just amazing things to say, which I think is a great testimony for the awards, for the process, the online manner in which we do it. It was great. It was my first experience as a judge last year myself. So I think it's an excellent program overall.
Well, thank you. Aaron just put an interesting comment in the chat. And do you want to, you kind of came on right after we introduced ourselves. Do you want to let everyone know who you are and expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron. I work as an illustrator for the Baha'i magazine. And, this was my first year as well. And I really want to say, for me, the biggest learning was my judging was a testimony that everybody should enter the RCC competition, because it enriched my heart so much to see even entries that, maybe didn't win or that didn't get the highest marks. There was always something that just blew my mind or impressed my heart, to know there's so many souls out there doing such great work and faith-based work. And the regular diet of the common consumer in media is not faith-based. And so it really made me long or wish to see more of this every day. I wish there was a landing page where all the RCC stuff could be viewed by everybody, and maybe an interfaith synergistic kind of channel, because I feel like this is the hope the world needs. And no matter what faith background it was, I just saw themes coming up over and over. You know, when you connect to God, no matter what your path, it just does the heart what it needs, you know, right now. We need these hope messages. So yeah, when Amitha was talking about children, you know, giving us feedback, I thought, what a neat thing if the RCC was able to recruit some youth or children judges for each category, and really make that fresh perspective and just sort of the youth-oriented vision of the future of the organization would be good feedback. And they have such, you know, clear, pure vision. I think that would be really neat too.
Yeah,
that was a great experience though. Thank you so much for allowing me to do that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for doing it last year, and thank you for those comments as well. It's a great idea to bring youth in, and you know, that's our future. So I'm really going to work on that, and the landing page idea so that our members can see this work. I'm astounded by it, and what you touched on was the reason for me that RCC is so vitally important right now in this world is just what you said. The consumer diet of media is pretty bad, pretty unhealthy right now. So the work that we're putting out, everything I saw that comes through this line, everything that I see on your individual websites, the work on the United Methodist that they're doing, this is what the world needs. This is what the world needs. We need to uplift the world through this work, and a faith group can be doing the most amazing work. Let me tell you, we just had some tornadoes hit our area. I was up in Kentucky for a little bit. We did run a bunch of volunteers up there, and you can do all the good work you want to, but until you tell somebody, it's like the tree that falls in the forest. You know, it might resonate with the lichen and the moss, but you can make a bigger impact by communicating about it. Susan, you entered work. You won Best in Class work. You've won many times, and you've been a judge too. What can you tell us? What are your thoughts that you'd like to share? By the way, this is being recorded, and everything will be available to our members. Susan, what would you like to tell us?
Well, I agree with the people who talk about judging, that it was so eye-opening. I mean, again, we don't see the vast array of work when we go to the award ceremonies and get little snippets. So I was just moved by so much of what I read. And I hope you'll ask me to judge again, because it was time consuming, but it was absolutely worth it.
Please judge again.
You will? You'll let me? Oh, yay. Good. Yeah, I'm pretty childlike, so I bring that to my judging. You know, I just look with very simple eyes, and it helps me be able to give feedback that is not too complex, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, your work was definitely appreciated. Anybody else have any questions for Amithel or Donna, or any questions or comments at all? Things you'd like to share with the broader RCC community? Yeah, Joyce.
Yeah, I would like to share a thought that I have when you were asking about the benefit of entering, and you know, we're in this deadline business, and we are often on to the next project before we've even wrapped up the previous project. And particularly those who are engaged in print, you don't see the fruits of your labor until down the road. So I have found that it's been very beneficial to when we stop and we pause and we take a breath and we feel that recognition. So for me, that's one of my favorite parts, is taking the time out to celebrate a little bit. So I just wanted to share that.
Awesome.
I have another comment also. When we first heard about RCC, I believe it was like 2004, we were encouraged by someone else in our organization to join. You know, we had never heard of it. And, you know, those of us who have been involved with it may not be aware that there are other communicators in our organizations or colleagues in exterior organizations who are involved in this work and may not be aware of RCC. So I would encourage everybody to promote it and let other people know, because I'm very grateful to the person who recommended it that we join, because it's been such a wonderful experience over the years.
Yeah, thank you. As a general membership comment, there's a Facebook group called Church Communicators or Religion, something about, people that do kind of like this work. And it's been brought to our attention at our national board meeting by one of our governors. I think there's 30,000 people on this Facebook group from around the US. And, Facebook just started when? 2008, 2009, something like that. It's only been around 10, 15 years. RCC has been around since 1929. And this is just showing me that people want what we've got. They want this community. They want the networking opportunities. They want to be a part of professionals who are this is a profession. If you study the history of PR, you'll see how it basically had to fight its way into existence for acceptance as a real thing. What we're doing is a real thing. It's not an extra, it's not an add-on, it's a vital part of any kind of activity. So having this kind of group of people who are engaged in this and who understand that, it's been helpful for me personally to, you see that the Methodists are going through some of the same problems that we're having, or the same challenges. We all face the same elephant from different angles, and we could kind of tear it apart and learn about it together. Heidi.
Yeah, that actually it's a perfect segue to my comment, which dovetails off Erin's. I attended an interfaith Thanksgiving Eve service here, and I recall looking around the room and seeing that there wasn't anyone under 50, 55 in the room. And it reminded me of things that I've heard and things that I've read about how many faith communities are concerned about losing their youth. And maybe, what Erin said about involving more youth in the communication process itself is one way to stop that. It's, the youth need to feel valued, and they're the future for all of us. So their perspectives are important.
Yeah, thank you. I can see a focus on youth coming in 2022 for the Board of Governors. I'll just put it at that. So I think the only people we haven't heard from in this call very much from anyway is James and Donna Price. Do you have any questions or comments for our guests or anybody?
Well, just I guess a comment that I'd like to echo the sentiment that's been said, that the oxygen we've gotten from in the form of feedback from fellow professionals has been great, and quite frankly, I would really be appreciative of more. The Chicago itself does not have a chapter, and that I really have no sense of how we could take advantage of an organization like this when we don't have a chapter to get in a little closer touch with folks who do this same kind of work. So, but it's great to have this, once a year, and perhaps more often might even be more nourishing. And a question actually is there on the question of feedback, does anybody have a story of a particular tidbit of commentary from this particular avenue from the judges that has really made you go or has been a focus of discussion from your team?
There was one thing that we heard from the judges last year. I was just looking at it earlier in this call. And the person said, this is an interstellar piece of work, which was nice and kind of a little pun on our name. I can see kids from 5 to 15 spending time with this product. As an adult, I would spend a lot of time with this project. So even though we create content for kids, we do hear from adults from time to time that they, enjoy reading our materials. And it was affirming and interesting to hear that from an outsider or, someone outside of the organization. So
yeah,
there's that.
All right. Thank you. Donna Price.
And again, I've already mentioned how the comment that really helped me with my writing this past year was the stories can be a little bit shorter, but also on a personal note, some of the comments from the judges echoed like who my readership is. Like one comment was, and I'm paraphrasing, that I really capture, this type of woman or whatever. For me personally, I've been struggling to find, who is my audience with my own personal blog and my video blogs. It's my passion project, and a book idea I had that has stalled because I'm all over the place. I have too many different interests and I want to speak to too many different people. And so for many years, I've been struggling with, focus. Who will resonate with my voice and who, what's going on? The judges helped me with that. So outside of Presbyterians Today, the judges' critiques helped me personally with something I've been struggling with for a while.
Fantastic. I think we're running a little bit over time, and I just want to probably time to bring this to a close, sadly, but we should join up again soon if we can. Thank you very much, Donna. Thank you very much, Amithel. Thank you, everyone who I put on the spot. I've been enlightened today. I hope others feel the same way. Get your entries in. There's time. It's we've extended the deadline to January 31st to match the Wilbur deadline. So you have now 25 days, which means most of you will turn them in on the 24th day. We're all work on deadlines, as someone said. But try to get them in as soon as you can. It really helps me see what's shaping up and what kind of judging we need. Next thing, sign up to be a judge. We really appreciate your input, and the entry fee is $50, and in return you get some amazing judging commentary. So that's the two things that I need, is to get your own entries in, sign up to judge, help promote it, gain members for RCC. And if you need anything, I think Amithel mentioned, ask, and those questions will come to me, and I'm pretty quick at getting back to you. So with that, I will say thank you to everyone, and
Thank you.
see you at the
Thanks,
awards
Brian.
show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah,
It's good to see you.
You too, Andy.
Thank you.
We should do this more often.